very happy to be able to welcome you to this grand pack in Washington, D.C. I would love to take responsibility for the space. I've been telling the Samsung people I will just be coming over to hang out. There's plants on the rooftop and fabulous views, but please don't let that distract you from your work. And thank you for contributing your time and intellect to solving some of the most pressing problems that we face helping veterans. Because as you help us deliver solutions, we will be able to improve care for the veterans we serve, and by extension, frankly, to people around the world. So we're really, really privileged to have this stellar group of innovators gathered together this weekend. I could feel the energy down there in the line. You and your peers are among the brightest minds in engineering, clinical medicine, computer science, and business. And I know you're all going to meet different people from fields outside your own, and I hope that that is an unexpected and very pleasant side benefit. But know this, our expectations are high. It's your ability to think outside the box and be kind of fearless about approaching some of the problems that we face in today's medical environment that will be of enormous benefit to us. If you think about medicine in the traditional sense, it often involves following closely established standards of care. Now understand that is actually a good thing. You do not want creative people in the sterile processing department. You want them to be doing this in a biblically correct way every single time, or we'll get infections and so forth. But other parts of medicine are a lot more complicated. And in today's delivery system, they're more complicated yet. You know, it used to be that when I trained, most of the action was in the hospital, right? And basically, you were our captives, right? You didn't go anywhere unless we said it was okay. Today, that is not how healthcare works at all. Increasingly, more and more of it is virtual. A whole lot of it has moved to the outpatient setting. And care coordination and figuring out who's on first and who has what piece of information can be really, really challenging. So that is, following standard approaches is beneficial for patients, but it actually sometimes gets in the way of, it stymies our ability to think outside the box. So that's why we need your help, your openness to new ways of thinking, your curiosity, and your persistence. And I'm quite confident you will ask questions like, so why do you do it this way? And you'll be floored, shocked, and maybe incredibly amused by the response, because we always have. Before we get started, I want to thank MIT for bringing together this diverse community of innovators and disruptors. MIT Hacking Medicine has partnered with world-class medical institutions and tech companies around the globe, and we know that partnerships are vital, absolutely vital to innovation. So we view these hackathons as opportunities to engage with industry, academia, and other entities to increase awareness of veteran challenges and to create unique and effective solutions. When I heard about Dr. Bloom's invention last night, I was just completely thrilled. And because diabetic foot ulcers are a very, very big deal, and we miss them. And the people who get them and have the most problems can't feel them. So, although I'm sure on occasion doctors yell at them for not finding it earlier, in fact, they don't feel it the way most of us would if we stepped on something. Second, I want to thank our gold sponsor, Samsung, not only for this amazing venue, but for their generous donation of $25,000 to support this important endeavor. In addition, the winning team, this is going to energize you, from each track of innovation will receive the Breakthroughs That Matter award in recognition of the most effective use of Samsung technology to solve VA's toughest healthcare challenges. Past winners have created mobile solutions to address crisis interventions for veterans who experience post-traumatic stress disorder, and a structured electronic health record for veterans that uses Samsung technology to secure protected health information. And you heard a little bit about that last night. I think the phrase was the Sneaker Express. For those of you who didn't hear it, have someone else translate it for you. I can't wait to hear what you're going to dream of. So the group I'm leading now, by design, spells the word dean. So I tell everyone that I am the dean for VA. The acronym is Discovery, Education, and Affiliate Networks. So in our group, we've got all of the research for VA, which includes the Million Veteran sort of leading edge genomic medicine program. where we not only have genomic information from about 750,000 veterans, and this is a real partnership with those veterans, we also have their clinical electronic health records, which almost no one has anything at that scale. It includes all of our academic affiliations. The next time you have to encounter a medical doctor, ask them, did you get some of your training in a VA? Statistically, 70% of the time the answer is yes. Not bad. So we have a big footprint on the future workforce, but what's really, really exciting is our innovation ecosystem. And it's exciting because VA is an organization that actively invests in innovation and solutions driven by our frontline staff. If you want to know how to solve a problem, you go to the people who are doing the work and have them walk you through it and where they get stuck and so forth. We recognize that VA clinicians and staff are in the best position to solve many of the challenges our healthcare systems face. So to empower frontline staff to act on their ideas and observations, we created what we call the Innovation Ecosystem, which encompasses what we call the Innovators Network and the Diffusion of Excellence program. So for the past 4 years, Diffusion of Excellence has worked to identify promising practices that address improvements to the veteran experience, quality and safety of care, care coordination, very importantly, employee engagement and access to care. So the Innovators Network, or INET, is made up of 36 VA medical centers across the country dedicated to helping frontline staff develop new innovations to improve medical care for veterans. In fact, we have representatives from 6 of our facilities here. Where are you? Can you hold up your hands, please? Yay! You will, I'm sure, get to meet many of them all weekend long. I can't tell you, like every year we've been getting about 500 or 600 submissions to the Best Practices Initiative, and you know, competition gets fierce. If I visit a facility, I'm telling you, someone's pulling me in the corner to say, we're submitting more than anybody else this year, or we've got one that's going to rock everything else out. It's very exciting, and they are evaluated by INET staff, and then ultimately we have a Shark Tank for the finalists. And that's where things get really, really creative. It's not for venture capitalists, right? The sharks in this case are other facilities other than where the innovator is from, basically saying, I'll put my money where my mouth is. We'll find the resources to implement this because we want to do that. And that's how you actually win the Shark Tank. We're also leveraging internal and external partnership models to develop and spread innovations and decrease the cost and time it takes to bring them to market. Very, very exciting business. Some of you may have heard that our team, with a team from Google DeepMind, published an article Wednesday or Thursday this week, I think Wednesday, in Nature, actually coming up with a model to predict acute kidney injury. This could be phenomenal. We walked around with a reporter yesterday at the DCBA so he could see what the dialysis unit looked like and, you know, what happens to your life if, in fact, we can't find acute kidney injury earlier. So he really, really got the drift of that. So what do we hope to achieve here? The reasons we've gathered you together is that we continue to have big challenges. As fast as we can innovate, healthcare itself keeps changing. That is the delivery. More of it's going outpatient. In our case, we have a new program that is allowing us both easier and different ways to provide care for veterans in the community. Not a new idea. We've been doing it for about 70 years, but it is a different approach now than we've used before, involving modern contracting, which we haven't been using either, and I won't say anything more about that. But we're always looking for better ways to provide care to the veterans that we serve, and we have some unique problems. About 1 in 5 Americans lives in a rural area. It can be easy to forget that if you live in a big city, right? But 1 in 5. In our system, we're talking 1 in 3 of the veterans we serve are in rural areas. So just remember that not everyone has broadband 24/7, and because that's one of the barriers that we have to deal with all the time. So I wanted to just share with you a couple of examples. In our own system, a tool that we developed using artificial intelligence a few years ago is actually picking up signals from veterans' electronic health records to predict those veterans who are at the highest risk of suicide. Now, if you know anything about mental health, you know that we don't have a biomarker. There's no blood test that says, oh, you must be on just the right drug for your depression. There's nothing there. It's all about symptoms and how you're feeling and so forth. And that's all filtered, right, through how individuals communicate about themselves and so forth. So it's much, much harder to predict. But we have been able to identify people in the highest risk of suicide. And for those folks, we exert a lot of proactive energy, reach out much more, check on them. And early indications are that we are seeing a reduction in all-cause mortality. So I've got my fingers crossed on this, that actually pans out, because it's very, very hard to know if you have an impact on the ultimate outcome in this case. But it's very exciting. And we're looking for new variables that we may need to add to that, particularly socioeconomic variables, right? Suppose someone applied for more benefits from VA and is also seen in our healthcare system. If we had that information and they were denied, we might know that that would be a moment, a stress moment, and so forth. A second area is improving prosthetic devices. So I'll just give you a mental picture here. When I first started at VA, I had this office. I loved it. It was sort of on the corner, not far from the elevators, also not far from the men's room. So I saw a lot of people walking by all the time. And in fact, I did think one group of men from finance was extremely busy and rushing off to meetings all the time, when in fact they were rushing off for biological needs. But one day, this older veteran comes in and introduces himself. He's working for a contractor, and he is missing, I believe, his right upper leg. And he's got a prosthesis of sorts, but it's got a hook on it, right? And a couple of years later, he has something called a loop arm, where he can actually shake your hand, which is just mind-bending. It's mind-bending anyway, but you have met him when he just had this literal metal hook. And now see that the prosthesis that is using a combination of robotics and sensors to help restore a near natural range of motion is just completely amazing. A third area is bringing health services to remote veterans through technology. One of the reasons that we are the world's leaders is not just because we are the most innovative and brilliant, although I would say that on occasion. Mostly, we are not hemmed in by state laws, right? Because that's been a bit of a barrier in the private sector in terms of reimbursement and so forth. After all, if you're reading somebody's x-rays in another state, the other state might want you to be paying fees to them so that you have a license there and all that kind of thing. We don't have that because we now have legislation that says we can provide care anywhere to anywhere, right? From home to home, which if you start to think about it, that's going to have a huge impact on our space requirements and frankly on what work looks like, which I think is utterly amazing. So in 2018, we provided more than 1 million video telehealth visits to veterans, and we're already planning for this fall to figure out how many people we can see who think they have the flu without seeing them, right? Because the end game there is, because if you have the flu, you feel awful. For those of you who haven't had it, take it from me. If you're ever, if you're ever thinking you washed your hands too many times, trust me, it is worth it to do it one more time and keep doing it because you will feel like you were run over by a truck. Just bad stuff. So that you can barely even contemplate the idea of getting in the car. And by the way, if you do get in the car and go to the emergency room, guess who you're infecting? Everybody around you. So how much better to do this by video? I mean, that's what we have the capability of. So for this weekend, we have established 3 tracks of innovation: access to healthcare and understanding that new technology, communications and technology are changing our idea of what access meant, right? Access used to be the doctor was here, you came here, that's access. But now it can be so many different things. The second is mental health and professional burnout, a very, very big problem across health and medicine in this country. And the third is rare and orphan diseases. 2 of these areas, mental health and access, hold very special relevance to VA and our veterans. So that's why we've made them 2 of our top priorities. One of the most sobering challenges in the mental health space is reducing the incidence of veteran suicide. 1 in 20 veterans take their own life every day. And as a group, veterans are more likely to suffer from PTSD and experience chronic pain as a result of their service, each of which can contribute to depression and anxiety. And they're also at greater risk of experiencing a substance use disorder. But also remember, the rates of suicide in the country for everyone are up. For a couple of years, I thought maybe we were just being more open about it, but it's real clear now. This is not just a statistical fluke. This is actually quite real. So we are very, very anxious for innovations in that space. And as a organization striving to be a high reliability organization, those of you who aren't familiar with healthcare, I'll just say, compared to aviation and some other industries, nuclear energy and so forth, healthcare is totally, totally in the dark ages, which doesn't mean we shouldn't strive for it. And that is what we're striving for, to try to reduce veteran harm from care to zero. But trying to figure out what it would take to achieve that for veterans with mental health problems is very, very difficult. We have the astonishing and unique privilege of caring for veterans and conducting research into the unique issues that affect them. It's so important to our giving them the best care possible. But as I said earlier, sometimes we're too close to the problems we face, and that's where disruptors like you can be so helpful. There's so much value in being outside of an institution. We're working hard to make sure that innovation is at the forefront of all that we do to promote health and wellness. And because we're such a large healthcare system, remember, your brilliant ideas will be translated to have a very, very big impact. About 9 million veterans in our system, and we're affiliated with all the nation's medical schools. So things going viral in medicine is a little unusual, but it does happen. So just remember, the opportunity for impact is big. Our partnership with MIT Hacking Medicine and the Grand Hack has already led to many innovative collaborations to the development of unique solutions within select VA medical centers. So we welcome your craziest and most outrageous thinking, because we need every last bit of it. So I hope you have an amazing weekend. I will say one of my colleagues will be making a pitch. I'm not going to try to bias you. I do think he's quite brilliant, but that's all I'll say about it. And thank you very much for your attention.